Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today, for our number talk, we are looking at the fraction 2/5 and trying to decide if it is closer to 0, 1/2, or 1. So, one way that we can think about this fraction is to focus on the denominator, fifths. And we know that it's easy to compare and order fractions if all the denominators are the same. So, how can I rewrite 0 as fifths? Well, it's pretty simple. You just write a fraction, put whatever denominator you want, and put a 0 as the numerator. 0/5 is equal to 0. The 1 is pretty easy because we know that 1 whole is equal to any fraction that has the same numerator and denominator, so I'm just going to make them fifths. Now, the half is a little bit tricky because I need to come up with half of 5. And 5 happens to be an odd number, but we can visualize this pretty simply. So if I'm thinking I've got 5, right, I'm going to do fraction of a set. I can do 2 over here, 2 over here, that's equal. But that last one I got to cut in half. So really, each side is going to be 2.5 or 2.5. So if I can go with it, I can say that this 2.5 over 5 is equal to half. Okay? Now, where would my 2/5 go? So my 2/5 is really going to be 2.0 if I want to compare. And 2.0 is going to be just a hair below this 2.5. So I'm thinking it's going to be, first off, not closer to 1. It's going to be between the 0 and 1, that 0 and that 1/2. And I really think it's going to be close to 1/2, but how can we know for sure? Well, we need to cut the halves in halves. Because if you can cut the half in half, these are going to be fourths. 1/4. I can rewrite 1/2 as 2/4. That's 3/4. And then I've got 4/4. If I can figure out what this is, and then make sure that this is smaller than the 2/5, then I'm good. But I need to rewrite this as fifths, which means I need to, since my 1/2 is 2/5, I need to cut my 2/5 in half, right? And I can visually do that here. It's my 2/5. So I can say, well, this one's got 1 and this one's got 1 that's equal, but then there's my 5th, and I need to cut that in half, and that ends up being each of them have 1.25, or I probably would be better to write it as a decimal, 1.25, 1 and then a quarter. So 1.25 is now half of that, and that's way less than that 2, because that's got a whole number of 1, and this has got a whole number of 2, so 2/5 is closest to 1/2.